Today in the Boot Guide, we are looking at the Rocky Sport Pro Waterproof Insulated. Now, you guys have been requesting Rocky boots as a brand on this channel for a while, so this is going to be the introduction to Rocky. Going forward, I'm going to be doing a lot more Rockies. Whatever I can find out there, I'll be reviewing them, and we'll be getting some really good ideas just how good of a boot a Rocky is and what goes into making a pair. So let's get started with this Sport Pro. Now, one thing that stands out on the Sport Pro is the sole and the lug configuration. This is a hunting boot. This is a sports boot. But this is also a boot that can double as a work boot if need be because it's insulated and it's waterproof. But the sole has really unique pattern. Now, the lugs on the outermost edge of the sole, they overhang the whole foot of the boot, which means you can climb with this boot if you're using it for a sports purpose. And the tip of the boot has these little spikes that run all around the tip of it. So when you do have to toe in and you do have to climb with this thing, you've got a little something there. Now, the whole sole pattern on the bottom is all about ascending. Now, when it comes to climbing, anything on the foot is going to give you traction, the center lugs, the middle lugs, the outer lugs. But when it comes to ascending, you really need something that is actually going in the opposite direction with almost a 90-degree angle. And Rocky has completely added that to their sole. All these outer lugs in the inside section are almost flat. There's probably more like an 85-degree angle here, so there's an easy clean out, but you are getting a lot of traction when you are ascending with this sole. Now, it just doesn't stop there. They actually have a defined heel built into this thing, which is really nice to see in an outdoor hiking, hunting boot. We see heels a lot, but most of the time they're so mellow into the construction and the design of it that you really don't notice that there is a heel for climbing. Now, a hunting boot, of course, climbing up into your tree stand, you need heels, especially if your boot's completely covered in mud, just getting out to your stand, you need something there to lock into that rung. And so that's where this boot actually comes into play as being a really nice work boot also. 400 grams of Thinsulate inside this thing. Not a lot, not a little, but it's enough. It's enough to really carry you through. Don't see this as a deep winter boot, but see this as a winter boot. And winter being nowhere near 20 below zero, but in that mark, that below zero mark, the 5 below to 6 below, 400 grams, wool socks, polypropylene liners, is going to do just fine. Now, Rocky's offering a waterproofing guarantee for 1 year with their VP waterproofing system. It's a membrane system. It's nice. It works. I've had nobody really complain to me about these things leaking. But 1 year guarantee, that means from date of purchase to the next year. So hold on to your receipt if you plan on really wearing the crap out of these, because in order to act on that, you're going to have to take it up with Rocky. Now, the construction of the tongue being a waterproof boot is really nice, and the fact that they added this mesh that runs all the way from the toe of the boot all the way up to the sewn top part right at the third speed lace, this mesh section is really going to make this boot a zero break-in boot. It might be a little stiff for a day or two. We are talking a heavy leather boot that has a waterproof barriers, and it's not the most flexible, though it is flexible. But having a Cordura tongue with that mesh, just the way this thing laces up nice and tight to keep mud and water from getting inside, that mesh is a really nice touch. Now, the upper is a mix of leather and 900 denier nylon. So it's not 1,000 denier, it's not 600 denier, it's 900. So it has a little niche out there in the nylon market, and it's a nice hand of nylon. When you first feel it, it's gonna feel really strong and stiff, but as you break this boot in, as you warm it up, as you start to flex it more, that nylon's gonna take on a really nice memory to every section of your foot. Now, deep down inside this boot, what you're going to find is their own insole, which they call the airport insole. Now, it's a basic urethane insole with a little bit of cambrel on top to wick away moisture to keep your foot a little extra dry. But remember, you got a waterproof boot, you've got a waterproof barrier, you've got cambrels. So eventually your feet are going to sweat. Even with a 400-gram insulated boot, you're still going to be wet inside from sweat. And you got to discern sweat from water when it comes to a boot like this, because it might be that you're wearing the wrong socks and that's why you're sweating, or it just might be that you're not drying your boot out properly, and that's why the second day in a row when you go to wear it, it's still wet. All in all, size and fit, I gotta say that everything I've tried on from Rocky has been spot on from style to style. There has been no difference in anything, especially when you consider where they're being constructed, that they're not all being constructed in the same plant by the same people. They are pretty good about keeping the continuity between the sizes. Now, two things you gotta know. One, if you're buying it as a work boot, you have to consider the size. You have to consider where you're working and what you're going to be doing in this thing. You probably don't want to buy it your actual size. You want to go up a half size in order to incorporate a polypropylene liner and a heavier sock, because insulated boots, you're buying them for the winter. Now, the second thing, when it comes to insulated boots, if you're really thinking about picking these up as an outdoor boot, consider where you're going to be using it and try both on. Try the left and the right on, because you might want to go with just your size in a single pair of wool socks. If you're moving around in the fields and walking the whole thing, you probably want to have something that fits better. If you're going to be doing some tree standing in this, or you're going to be spending a lot of time just sitting still, you're going to want to do that half size bigger in order to create those air pockets inside this boot. So that's the Rocky Sport Pro 8-inch waterproof boot that is insulated. Hey, if you've ever worn anything from the Rocky brand, please comment below. Let guys know what model you're wearing. And if you're wearing Rockies for hunting, sport, or work, please also comment below and let guys know what you think about the construction and just the whole idea of a Rocky outdoor boot as a work boot. Hey, if you're interested in knowing more about this Rocky, if you want to see detailed photos of the construction of the boot that I've taken, swing by to bootguy.com. I'll have all that there in a blog post entitled Rocky Sport Pro. Please don't forget to hit my subscribe button below. It really helps out. And also, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter all day long. I find interesting boots. I take some photos of it. I throw it out there so we can have conversations about them. Hey, if you're about to pick up a pair of these Rockies and you just got some questions about size and fit, or about the VP waterproof 1-year guarantee, shoot me over an email. All right, until the next time, I'm the Boot Guy. Thanks a lot for watching.